Welcome, everybody, to the COWSA podcast, name pending, as is with everything in life. So, this is hopefully going to be a regular podcast style thing that we're doing, covering the local Overwatch scene, Premier Division, First Division standings, matches to watch, and anything else that kind of strikes our fancy. But it's not just me today, that would be quite boring. I'm joined today by my hopefully my usual guests, GeneralSound
Hello, everybody.
and DarkVagician. Welcome.
What's up, guys?
So let's start with some introductions. We most people will know us, but just for anyone who doesn't, GeneralSound, introduce yourself. Who do you play for? What are you doing? What's
I
up?
currently play for Prodigy. I was signed up as a main tank, but been mainly flexing this season. And a bit of coaching as well for the team. So it's been an interesting leg so far.
We'll get into that a bit later. And Vag,
Okay, I am one of the founding members of COWSA. I'm no longer really part of that role. I just more do everything. I play for White Rabbit Gaming Boostiers, and I cast games.
you cast games occasionally. Both of you cast games actually, as analysts usually.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I forget. Sorry, you're not very good, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. So yeah, let's jump straight in. First thing we'll be chatting about is the standings. Leg 2 just finished, and it's probably been, if not the best, at least the most covered and the most anticipated leg since we've been playing Overwatch since the beginning. More casting than ever before. The teams are stronger and more evenly matched at the top than ever before. Even First Division is hotting up. It's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this has been a crazy league, and you could see also in Prem Division, like on top, like Dark will fill us in about that. It's been insane to watch, like teams just like was on top before going down, and teams are just getting stronger, and it's insane to watch. And same with First Division.
So let's jump in then. Sorry to cut you off, Vag. Just jump straight into First Division, then we'll start there. If you were part of First Division, I think this is how a lot of people would have expected it to go by halfway through the season. But at the start, I think most people were looking at Phoenix Rising and Omnis Gaming, Ominence
100%.
to top the lot. But as things unfolded, Prodigy Rays established themselves as, within a few games, the strongest team in the division by quite some margin, I think, by most people's estimates. And they did end up topping the leg ahead of Phoenix Rising Overwatch, who just barely eked out Project All Flex Race.
Yeah.
So, General and I have
yeah.
We're in an interesting situation here because we just played each other what would have been yesterday. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Just touch on that game briefly because that was quite a
it was quite a
slugfest.
It was quite an insane game. We had some heavy off-tank battles most of the game, and we went into the game basically thinking like, this is the decider for who's gonna be the strongest team, and to basically a showcase to show first like the Premier Division guys that everybody's been working hard, and showing we deserve a spot in Prem. And yeah, it's been an interesting one. I know it was the first map. You guys were quite shocked by our Bridget comp, and second map.
I don't know if we'd say we weren't shocked per se, but we were not expecting basically how good you guys were. Like quite clearly well practiced on it.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of the teams in First Division, for example, we would run dive on Icon Vault at the beginning, and pretty much be okay on most maps at that stage.
Yeah,
you guys really shut us down with that composition.
I'll say surprisingly, and this is inside information. Like we practiced the Brigade comp quite a bit, and we actually played a hell of a lot of comp. The first week Bridget came out in comp, right? We played like almost every day together, and surprisingly, most of us climbed like 300 to 400 SR using that comp.
Oh.
In comp, running 6-stack, and it's a very strong comp. And what we're not used to was playing it against Dive, and you guys really nailed us on the coffin, especially like on Eichenwald, where Dive can be strong, and we had to adapt in game to your Dive and like basically stick together and not give you that option of isolating a target, you know what I mean, and getting what Dive is very strong for. So yeah,
Exactly. I
so
mean, what we focused on was just running counter Brigitte strats, because
yeah,
we felt like, well, I felt like the teams we were going to run up against, for the most part, we're going to be comfortable in that strategy. So if we could just get our fundamentals out and work on what we know how to do, rather than trying to shift into a whole different mindset and change our
Yeah.
composition completely, we just run the composition we know we can do well, and focus on countering that strat. And what happened with most teams is we'd run our strat, whether it be dive or some variation on a death ball, into that comp, and most teams would struggle and then switch
Yeah.
off the Brigitte. And then it
Yeah,
just
but-
becomes our game, you know?
There's a very important point there where you've got to, just knowing what the meta is isn't knowing how to play it necessarily. I mean, at Boostios, we picked up the Brigitte comp quite early, and we did a couple of 6-man comps, we did some scrims, and we performed. But then when it came to occasionally playing against a team that just had a lot more practice and organization, because that composition requires everybody to position themselves quite together. And
Yeah.
I mean, Boostios are like previously were a hard dive team.
Yeah.
That is I think what we kind of made our name with
Yeah.
in Egg 1. So for us, it was a little bit of it's a bit disheartening when you're getting out-muscled by a mirror composition, and I think it was a little unfamiliar, and that almost made us a little scared to use it at times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you sort of can find that weakness in a team running that comp, and you just sort of hammer that single pressure point the whole time, you can really break them down, and then it becomes more of a mind game that they don't perform.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the crazy thing is, like, we've been playing it a lot, and we knew what the strengths of that comp is. It's basically like it's a funny one, because Brigitte is like, you have to stick over the tanks, and at the same time you gotta like let a peel for the backline who's getting dived. And as long as Brigitte can come back and give armor to the first person that's getting dived, and then also bully that target who's diving your support or Zenyatta or whoever, it's that AO healing is so strong. So it's a funny one. It's like, what we tried to do was, when that happened, we made sure all of us turned around and like kind of made like a like, you know what I mean, everybody gathered around the target that was diving our target, so
Yeah.
that we could get the most value out of the comp we were running to kill that target.
Yes.
So I don't know if you felt that that was us that most of the time.
Yeah,
you guys
we
did.
definitely did, and we tried to counter it in a lot of different ways. But by the end, once you guys had really revved up
Yeah.
and got momentum behind you, we just couldn't make any inroads anymore. But going back to that match against you guys, Prodigy, our focus was not on that match, and I think it was the same for you guys. Our focus was on beating Ominence early in the week, because we knew if we won that
Yeah.
game, we're in
Because-
Prem.
Yeah.
And this match is just for points and for pride.
Yeah, for pride.
So-
yeah. We felt the same. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, but it was a lot of fun. Shout out to Trinoc and Mutant Gun for casting that, and shout out to all the casters for
Yeah.
putting in a ton of work. You know, Cloudburst, Naori, ourselves as well. Shout
Yeah.
out to us.
It's been yeah, it's
Most
been
important
crazy.
shout out.
Like if you look last league, like almost little to no games was cast in Division 1. And I never had a game cast when I was on Perseus. Like literally no games was casted of mine.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, since I was in VS Gaming, and I was telling Dark this before, I never ever had a game casted. So now looking today, I have probably after this league, like at least 7 games casted. Those maybe six, like, and that's a lot. And that's credit to all the casters out there pushing in the work, trying to like showcase these teams. And now, like, when we going into a game, we're looking at the previous VOD as a team. And in Division 1, that's a huge utility. This is like honestly, Sun, we studied a lot of the way you were playing, and we were expecting Road Dogg from you all the time. So it's
Yeah.
like, just for example, And
Yeah.
this is such a big thing for Division 1. This is just a huge advantage that teams need to start taking advantage of.
For
Yeah.
sure. So just to wrap up First Division quickly, Project All Flex Rays actually quite unlucky, all things considered. They played us 5v6. Then moving further down, Chronic Underdogs, exactly that, a big underdog story, and performed extremely well. They posted a huge upset victory against Ominence Gaming early on. And that kind of put them on everyone's radar. That was a team, I know you said earlier, General, that was a team you were afraid of.
Yeah.
And for us as well, that was a team we were like, okay, this is a game we have to win if we're going to advance.
Yeah, we were very scared. Like, I remember on Eichenwald when Prodigy played against them, they were so aggressive. They managed to push the point all the way, if I could remember correctly.
Mhm.
And we literally had to sit back and look here, how we're gonna counter this aggression, and the only way we did that was we tackled aggression with aggression. And they are a team that has a strat down. Like, look here, we're diving this target, and we're gonna keep diving this target till this target dies. You know what I mean? And that's their strat, and they're so well at that, and they get all the numbers, and they have a trace. I forgot the trace. I think it's Hemispheres on Tracer. He is.
Hemisphere was playing a ton of Junkrat, I know.
Yeah,
I'm
he
not sure if he
plays
was also
when
Tracer.
they're diving, when they attack diving, he plays Tracer, and what he's good at Tracer, he's not good at like picking off targets and killing Zenyatas. He's good at getting the focus away from his tanks, because I think it's James Bar and Amsterdam, that's the main tanks. They are a really good duo, and if they keep grinding the way they are grinding together, they're going to be a very strong tank line in the future.
For sure. Okay, and then Omnious Gaming. Yeah, that's a mouthful. They've had a difficult season. You know, we were expecting a lot from them, dropping down from Prem. They actually beat us in Prem, so we thought they would be stronger than us.
So,
but it didn't end up playing that way, and they ended up finishing in a disappointing 5th for them.
I think the question goes to you about this one, Sun, is because you experienced them in Prem and now in First Division. What changed? You know what I mean?
So it's a very interesting scenario because we played them 5v5.
Okay.
And we played them without our main support and shot caller. So, you know, not to make excuses, they're a good team and they played well. But we were playing wounded, and so were they. And they handled that situation better than we did. So whether or not they were better than us at that time, it's difficult to say, but they were strong enough to beat us in that situation. So they were clearly talented. But now coming down, I know they've had some issues with their roster, whether it be personnel issues or positioning, as in like who's playing what issues. But they've been struggling there. So going forward, they're looking for new players. If you want to join a team and you're in the kind of 25 to 3,000 range, this is the team you want to be looking at. Ominence, they're a good bunch of guys, and you can learn with them, and they're nice, you know.
Just a quick mention, I think that whoever's going to come down from Prem, now they must expect teams that grind, and team that's willing to, how can I say, tackle the meta, you know what I mean, and work as a team. And that's what happened in Prem this season. A lot of teams, like I'm sure you were surprised at how a lot of teams are, like Project Allflix as well. Well, like going back to them, they were also somebody that did really well, not too bad actually.
Yeah, and Project Allflix, a team we're looking at jumping out of First Division next leg in all likelihood, given their performance towards the end of this leg. Then moving on to Perseus Reyes, NM Valorous, and MCMC Overwatch. Perseus Reyes is a disappointing season. I think losing really was a big hit to them in terms of their performance, and it shows in kind of results. The only teams they beat were the two teams below them on the standings. Then NM Valorous, also another team that struggles. A team Phoenix Rising knows quite well through Mutant Gun. We've scrimmed with them before, given them some tips and pointers, but there's quite a heavy reliance on Red Queen's fire there, and that becomes a weakness of theirs. As teams get better and the hits can get better, the fire becomes less and less useful. But it might be, this current meta might be their meta. You know, fire can be very strong here.
Yeah, the burst
then
damage.
MCMC, exactly, and Brigitte can't touch her. Then MCMC, unfortunately had to forfeit at least 2 games, so and lost out the rest of them. But they're not disbanding, which is what we want to see. We want to see these
Yeah.
teams stick around, grind, get better. But Validus and MCMC are the 2 teams that are going to be relegated going into League 3.
Cool.
Then moving into Prem Division, this is where it's all at. This is where we saw big matchups, big upsets. Everyone was taking maps off everyone else. You know,
Yeah.
any matchup you looked at, you couldn't say this team is 100% guaranteed to take every game. There was so few 3-0s, and it was actually, stories up and down the list here. But let's start at the top with a 3-way tie. I think this is the first time, and maybe the last time we've ever seen this in South African Overwatch. A 3-way tie in terms of points at the top of the log with Eden, Boosters, and Goliath Gaming.
Well, what's interesting about this 3-way tie is that White Rabbit Gaming beat Goliath Gaming, Goliath Gaming beat Energy Esports, and Energy Esports beat White Rabbit Gaming. So,
yeah, I mean, doesn't get more even than that, right?
Exactly. I mean, Eden have gone through because they won, I think, 1 more map than us overall, and then I think GG they played 1 more map than us, and then I'm not actually sure how that calculation works, but if you look, Boosters is at the lowest win percentage, but there is 1.56% in map win percentage that splits the top 3 teams, and it's a little unfortunate. I mean, why is Goliath Gaming sitting below Boosters with
I don't know.
a higher map percentage at 3rd? Yeah, I don't think that's correct.
The only way it makes sense to me is with head-to-head, but in terms of position, the numbers go 1-1-3. Like, Goliath is clearly in 3rd, and Eden and Boosters are tied for 1st when Eden beat Boosters and Goliath beat Eden. It's very confusing. I don't quite understand how this ranking works.
But I think it takes into account the map position as well, maybe head-to-head as well. But yeah, I think it's really awesome that Eden sort of losing their founding member and like their captain, their leader, that they went out. He had his final leg. He went out with a bang, played his last game really well. And I mean, for those who watched, it was so intense.
Yeah, it was definitely an insane game to watch.
I do want to give just a massive shout out to my team, or to White Rabbit Gaming, for managing their tilt in that game. I mean, to go 2 maps down to Eden and then still make a semblance of a comeback and take 2 maps off them, and not just throw in the towel, I think was like it was really big of Boosters to pull off that. I mean, Control is our weakest map type, and we got sufficiently beaten on Lijiang Tower, but that, I mean, I think on a different map type, that game could have gone a different way.
Lessons learned, perhaps. Maybe next time you straight up ban all the control maps and take your chances on 2CP.
That's probably our strategy from this point forward. But
so moving on, unidentified. Like every single team you go to, you go, wow, this team is good. This team is good. This team is good, and all the way down to the bottom. You've got strong teams here, and Unidentified is one of those teams sitting slap bang in the middle of the log, 3-4, but a team that went 3-2 against Eden, taking games of Boosters, taking games of every other team.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate not to clean up the games at the end. And
exactly. I mean, they Unidentified pushed us right to the end. It was on the final map. We were pushing overtime to get our payload to the end on Dorado, and we just managed it. I think a couple of experienced pop-offs from our stars just let it happen.
Quick question. Sorry, Doc. And when you played Unidentified, was it in the current meta or previous meta?
So we started off playing in the current meta. We played with the current meta strategy that we'd been scrimming and practicing. But Squishy and Sponge came out with Junkrat and Farah, and they made our lives hell. So we had to change things up just to sort of match them head to head. And I think experience won that game for us and maybe a little bit of composure. I know Unidentified's the younger squad, but I mean, I don't know if they're going to be that low down the table.
Because
From their perspective, next leg, I think they've got every opportunity to get higher, climb a few steps.
Because the only reason why I'm asking that is because, like I said in a previous cast, that this meta is the meta that could favor Unidentified being more of an aggressive, tanky team. They're not really good at dive, like from what I've been watching.
Yes.
And they're very good at, very bad at countering it. Not bad, but like it's not their strength. And when a good dive team comes up against them, they really get pushed back. So yeah, that was my takes, that this meta will, like brawly metas will favor them more.
I think Unidentified have a lot to look forward to in this meta with, the sort of projectile Brigitte counters that you see in Junkrat and Farah, that I think Sponge and Squishy can just play so exceptionally well that they should have no problems in the coming leg if we are forced into this horrible meta once again. So I mean, we can only pray for some nerfs. But yeah, I think they're going to look to sort of build on their results. I don't know where their fourth loss was, because they beat Pulse and they beat 2CP. I know they lost to Eden, Boostios, and GG.
No, I think they
beat Dominion.
I don't think they beat Pulse. I think they Pulse just beat them. I remember I was casting that game with you, Doc.
Oh yes, you are correct. That's my mistake. Yeah, Pulse really showed us something. That was when they were just having a bit of a downer, and then they turned that around. Yeah. Okay. So they lost to Pulse, Boostios, Eden, Goliath Gaming, which is, that's a lot of teams. I think when I heard previously, a lot of teams just write off their Eden game as a loss.
Yes.
Because they're really difficult to play against. Sometimes it feels like you're just charging into a wall.
I say, let's talk about Goliath Gaming.
I skipped over that, and I was meaning to jump back into that. Really unbelievably impressive performance. Losing one of Lama, I believe it was, towards the end of last leg. Getting picked up by Goliath Gaming, the former DC squad, of course, for those of you who don't know. Coming back, fighting. We Bad and I casted their first match against Pulse, and they dominated Pulse 3-0. That put them on the map.
So aggressive.
Exactly. And they turned it up to 10 this leg and capped it off for the win against Eden towards the end.
I think, sorry, Doc. I think Ronan has been insane on the Hanzo, especially in this new meta. It was
Who's Ronan? There's no Ronan on
Is
this
that Ronan?
Lazarus.
Exactly, Lazarus. With a new team name comes a new player name.
Yeah, I was just so confused. I remember I asked Doc, who the hell's Lazarus? He still told me it's Ronan, so I was like, okay.
I think if you watch their games, you see every single attack is funneled through Z-Lord just charging in. And I don't know how he pulls it off, honestly, every single time. But he just sort of opens up the entire team, and Lazarus just gets sort of free picks at the enemy team. Obviously he has to claim those, but the opportunities are presented to him by the aggression that the front line of Goliath Gaming shows. And honestly, for us, I mean, there's a testament to that sort of aggression by their sort of enabler making his way onto the Premier Division's MVP from the captain's nominations. If you see, you got Z-Lord got a mention.
Yes.
And that just opens up teams. That splits them down the middle, occasionally gets a kill just on the charge, and Lazarus can just pick who he wants on either side of the tank. And with Lagbeast running Brigitte, they're playing to their strengths and to the meta so well.
Yeah, look here, like teams that has good Reinhardts should abuse this meta at the moment, because that's like, I can see 2CP, if they get this meta right, they could also be a team with Riposte that can just smash teams if they get it right.
And they got a mean Hanzo in the form of EZZ.
Really? They're
Yes.
mercy, man. That's not a
Yes.
role which you see very often.
I
So
remember
let's
playing
move then on to the BCK2CP, another team that's been picked up by a big South African NGO, and that's great to see. Overwatch getting exposed to these big brands, these well-known names. You know, BZK, Goliath Gaming, White Rabbit Gaming, of course. And you know, we talk about good tank play and a team that is, as you mentioned, typified by good tank play is 2CP. You know, Vag has gone on record saying he thinks Riposte is the best main tank in the country. That's no small praise. And I think, like you say, General, that's a team that can seriously, if they can get the handle on this current meta. I know Riposte is hating life at the moment, as are many main tanks. But if they can get a handle on this meta, they can really shine.
I think the trick is like what Goliath Gaming did well is they have the Zarya that enables the Rhine to take those stuns and Brigitte to push away the people who's trying to stop the Rhine from charging. And that's what, like, this current meta, that's what it takes to take advantage of it, is basically have your two, like this off tank and this makeshift off tank in Brigitte to support the Rhine as much as possible. That's what we're seeing from Goliath, and I think 2CP can wax that if they get it right. Because I know Ashbro is also a good Zarya from what I've seen before, yeah.
But what Goliath Gaming do quite well is Z-Lord charges in, and now for Boostios, we would view that as a positional error. And we punish that. You know, I think Boostio specializes in punishing positional errors. And that's always worked in our favor. So we will find when you're out of position and capitalize on that mistake and then take a fight or take a point, you know, using that as our launching pad. So I think we didn't necessarily have as much of a problem as the other teams had against GG. I think we got them at a point where they were still finding their feet in this meta. But what
you bet towards the end, didn't you?
Yes, but very soon after this was our first game in the Brig meta when we played.
Okay.
And I think theirs too. They weren't expecting us to run it, I think. But what that Rhine charge does is it baits in that capitalization of that perceived positional error, and then the Brig and the Zarya just keep him alive enough to hammer down your whole team. And then you got a Hanzo from just further back picking up your supports with these incredible headshots.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Is Goliath Gaming running the Lucio with the comp or Moira?
I cannot recall.
Okay.
I know Lagbeast is on the Brigitte, so usually he'd be running the Lucio. So my suspicion is they've got Griffons in, and the remaining support player who's now slipped my mind. On Moira, I want to say. Pac-Man. How can I forget? And mixing in the Anna there, of course.
Because the only it's either then again you just have either Moira or Lucio speed boosting to the Rhine and getting the tanks there with him, or Moira just shifting in and throwing all her resources at the Rhine to stay alive with that bubble.
And a big anti otherwise is the Anna equivalent of that situation. So moving on now towards the bottom of the log, and this is where things start to get a bit murky, let's put it that way. DDC Dominion, I think, lucky to still be in Prem following their own disappointing season, but they did manage to beat what you would have to call quite a struggling Pulse Gaming team, and we'll come on to the fallout of all of this in a moment. But Dominion finished in 6th position, maintaining their spot in Premier League. Pulse Gaming finished in extremely disappointing from everyone's point of view, 7th. And Nova X unfortunately forced to disband mid-season because of roster stability issues, essentially, I believe. So, unfortunate to see these two teams. And as a result of this situation and many other sort of internal strifes for Pulse Gaming, they have unfortunately taken the decision to disband. So, big local team that's been around forever. I know Vag, you're very familiar with them from your time on them as Team Viral and Baka Onichan before that. Really disappointing to see them go, but this is a decision that I think they needed to make for themselves.
I think a lot of their players are young. I know one player was stepping down due to, I think, personal commitments and maybe just not enough time to fully commit to a Premier team of Pulse's standing, former standing, where there's a lot of pressure on you to perform, placing second at Rage, and then last season beating Eden, toe-to-toe with Boostios. There's a lot of pressure to just constantly perform. And I mean, every team at the top feels it. But I think it's hard to then also spend all your time committed to that and working to just maintain that level of play. I know Luke, got an offer to join a team that he just couldn't turn down, I think, from a career point of view. And I mean, I think it's been mentioned in the Discord server a bunch of times, but he's going to be replacing Eden's Carnage, who retired at the end of this leg. And I think that's going to make Eden terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, Carnage is no slouch, but
no, not at all. But
I think where Luke is in his career and where Carnage is in his career, Luke is going to turn this team up to 11.
Yes, and I'm terrified. Hopefully we can we could just sort of out-meta them, but we did that before and it didn't necessarily work. I still believe it was the map type, but
like I said, lessons learned. For next time that control map is gone.
It's a funny one because sorry, Doc. It's a funny one. Like Eden is picking up Luke, and they haven't been running Carnage that much this leg. Either they've been relying on support, or they played support. He played support last game against you guys, if I remember correctly. And the question is, in the current meta, there's only one DPS slot open.
Yes.
There must be something Eden is working on at the moment in the background that is gonna bring Luke into the roster, because 20 is irreplaceable. You can't take him out of your roster and put Luke there.
I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how they're gonna slot Luke and 20 together in this current meta. But I mean, Eden showing us their muscle, flexing on the sort of meta comp.
I won't be surprised. Sorry, Doc. Go on.
Okay. Maybe pulling in Luke will sort of push them into a slightly off-meta composition, which will maybe allow Luke to excel, but possibly open up another weakness or two for them by playing off-meta. And maybe that is the only sort of silver lining I can see from a White Rabbit gaming perspective to this saga.
I'm gonna ask you guys one question, and I want just a one-word answer. Who do you think's got the better Hanzo, 20 or Luke?
20.
I from what we've seen, I can't give you a one-word answer, and I'll tell you why. From what we've seen, Eden has played a composition that has enabled 20 to excel as Hanzo, and we have seen glimpses of Luke's Hanzo through other compositions, and even in those glimpses, he was unstoppable. He has torn us apart every single time he's played Hanzo. I think put him in a situation where he is enabled like 20 was enabled, Luke will excel the same, maybe better, maybe worse, but I need to see that level of support that 20 got for Luke, and then I'll be able to tell you what I think.
I 100% agree with you, but at the moment we've only seen 20 on the Hanzo, so I'm sticking with 20 on this.
He tore us apart, so I mean, I'll give him that.
The devil you know rather than devil you don't. So that about wraps up First Division. Premier Division. Pulse Gaming relegated and disbanding. Nova X, another team, relegated and disbanding. Unfortunate, they ended up disbanding quite early on in the leg, so lots of teams got forfeit victories against them. We didn't really get a chance to see much of what they had to offer, but I think our suspicion would be that they were going to be relegated anyway, just because of how the rankings played out, So, but still, it moves us onto our next topic pretty handily. The whole story of all these teams disbanding, top teams in Premier Division with a lot to gain and a lot to lose. It's disappointing to see these good teams disband, and what can we do to address this, if anything?
I I think from our side, as sort of moderators and managers of the South African Overwatch community, we just need to. Firstly, we can't just look at it as all the players in these teams are stopping Overwatch. I've spoken to some of the guys from Pulse, some of the guys from Nova X. They are still they would still like to continue as competitive players, but their team as a whole, that specific chapter has ended. And I said this when we were discussing Pulse disbanding, they were a group of friends and then somebody got an opportunity and left. So that group of friends decided to close that chapter, and not all of them decided to open a new chapter, but some have. So, and I think, firstly, we not necessarily have to take responsibility, but we need to do what we can to sort of try help these guys who had the previous chapter closed, help them, get them hyped, help them open a new chapter. I've been trying to help people get into teams. If I know a team needs a strong player in a position, I've been very quick to recommend people I know who will do well. I mean, I know I've chatted to you, SunPhoenix. I've chatted to some other teams. Like, I think we need to do everything we can to sort of help them transition as happily and as comfortably as we can. And then also, I mean, because it's always hard to lose top teams, I think it's always sad when Pulse disbanding, Nova X disbanding, it upsets me, but that hopefully opens the door for new teams to show us, okay, cool, we're going to step up. That's going to be maybe unidentified now, maybe 2CP. They're going to claim that sort of spot in what I always imagined was the top four of Pulse, GG, WRG, and Energy. And now, Pulse stepping down, maybe BZK is going to step up. Maybe Unidentified is going to step up and grab that slot at the big table. And I mean, that also creates a level of excitement as well, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely sad to see these teams disband, and it's a funny one because you're coming into Prem where like teams are actually working hard, and then it starts becoming a question of like, do I deserve the spot? It's a very mental frustration because people actually, in the reality of the situation is, people actually has jobs and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, like as us as community managers and leaders, we need to get that drive and that that gees going, within the community, that this is a game that we all love to play, and we love to play against each other on a high competitive level, and keep that up. You know what I mean? And as long as we can do that, I'm sure teams will stay and be happy to be part of this growing community we have.
Yeah, and we've got to do everything as sort of community. I don't want to say leaders, but kind of community leaders. And we got to hype this up. We got to do everything we can to generate the interest in the game, make the people excited. The Boostio's Eden cast I think that was a gigantic leap for us. That was a hugely hyped game. It was nail biting. I think it had everything that I'd personally love to see more of in the local Overwatch scene. It had drama, excitement, and I think if we can sort of introduce more of that, not just drama, but the sort of drama that comes with,
competitive drama.
Competitive drama. Not just the standard drama we get all the time. But but if we can introduce more of those elements, we'll definitely bring more people in, and with that comes, new blood, more skill, not necessarily just different skills sets coming in from other games, new players finding a game they get excited about, and we just got to keep driving that as much as possible.
100%.
Yeah, and that's a part of what's happening here right now. This podcast put eyes on the teams, put eyes on players, put eyes on situations and storylines. Inspire people to keep playing, or remind them why they love the game and the community and the scene. And for those who aren't familiar, show them, what's going on. There's exciting stuff happening here. Premier League is incredible at the moment, and the more eyes we can get, the more people we can see, we can show that too. The better it's going to be for everyone, hopefully.
And it's quite amazing. Like the last game, Cloudburst, Prem Division game he casted was White Rabbit Gaming and Eden, and that was an amazing game to watch because not as a like because of the game itself. The game was amazing, yeah, but like the Twitch chat was going off. People were
Yeah,
like spamming emotes, spamming everything, and there was quite excitement in the game. And this is quite a like that's testament to all the hard work everybody's putting into the community, and that just shows like where the scene could be headed. Just that was just like a little bit of a, a small
a
piece of the
taste.
pie, yeah. So
Exactly. And I
so
think it's an important point you bring up there. It's not management that's driving this, right?
yeah,
It's community.
community,
So
yeah,
100%.
there's only so much that
yeah.
you, Vag, and Barnacle and whomever else sits at the sort of
Yeah,
top of the structure here. There's only
yeah.
so much
Yeah,
you
sorry,
guys
I,
can
I,
do.
I, I, I worded it wrong, but definitely it's a community thing. Definitely,
Mm,
yeah.
Well, I mean, what we try to do is whenever we come up with an initiative within COWSA, we don't sort of hoard it within the management structure. Like,
mm,
if I have a good idea, I mean, I take on
Yeah.
so many small little side projects within the community that it's just not sustainable for me to manage everything. So I'll look to the community and see, hey, who'd like to be involved, who'd like to help me grow this aspect, who'd like to work on this,
yeah.
because I mean, from this point forward, the Overwatch community is only going to go higher. It's only going to grow. It's only going to go from strength to strength with events coming up. Hopefully we got more tournaments coming up,
Mm,
and I think as long as we keep promoting it in the positive, as much as we try, positive way we can, I think the people who invest a lot of their time now and a lot of themselves into the community are really going to see some valuable returns
For for
in
example,
the coming
yeah,
months.
yeah. For example, what I want to say, so to add on, Doc, like look here, like a month ago, I just had an idea in my mind. I spoke to you about it,
Yeah.
and it was like just a small idea of like let's get a coaching thing going. And today we had an extra 4 people asking for coaching, and everybody's getting involved. Everybody's taking on players to coach. We got unknown from Energy to coach. I think it's Interitus,
mm,
and he's coaching them full time now. So this is like a really like COWSA is such a good platform for everybody, and everybody can get involved. Like yesterday, I was like just had ideas and I mentioned it to the right people, and now it's blossoming, and
mm.
it just shows the strength of what the community has.
Well, COWSA was always started with the intention of growth, whether individually, a team, but growth overall as a community, and that's always been our priority and will always be our focus. Anything else we
Yeah,
can do to facilitate that is important to us.
yeah. So I think we've kind of covered most of what we're planning on covering today.
Yeah.
The last thing on the docket here is
Play the game.
yes, play the game. Right. Sorry. So what we're looking to do going forward, we've touched on this briefly in the past through announcements and that kind of thing in the Discord channel. But we're wanting to run a play the game competition. So you guys, you did something cool in a game, in a match. It doesn't have to be a professional or a competitive match. You send in your play the game. We'll review them, and I think at the end of the month, we'll give it a small prize if we can, or something along those lines.
I'm prepared to sacrifice one of my Pokemon plushies.
Jeez, that's a good prize.
Oh, I got some sick plushies, man.
No wonder Doc is grinding a lot of solo comp as DPS. He wants to win that.
Exactly. Wants to win his own prizes. Jeez. And then the last thing we'll touch on just before we sign off here is the form. If you guys have been around the Discord on Monday, you'll know that DarkVag has been pushing this form. It's the community MVP votes. What's it called officially?
COWSA Community Awards.
COWSA Community Awards. Next week, we're hoping to go through those and announce winners and that kind of thing, and just to, recognize the people who've been performing well in game, the teams that have been doing well, players who've improved, that kind of thing. So vote on that. The more people that vote, the better it's going to be, and hopefully we can we can see who's who in the zoo here. Get some eyes on some people, you know.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing, in my opinion, that this is happening, because now when a team like whoever's performing in first division will come up to Prem, for example, and be like, everybody will know in Prem, like, okay, this guy was performing in first division, or this team was performing, or this is the most, like, what was it you call the most progress, like the most,
Yeah.
what's the word of
Improved.
improved team. Sorry, my bad. English is bad for me today. But yeah, but yeah, that's just like, it just gives insight, which is awesome. And now teams can go back and be like, why is he so good, and study VODs, and for example, which is cool. So, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's also just, I think my intention initially was just to acknowledge hard work that people put in.
Yeah.
I don't want people to see work, like, put in hours and, there's no recognition. So I'd like the community to say, cool, we've seen what you've done. We've seen you guys do really well. Congrats. See you in Prem next leg. We'll watch out for this guy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that about wraps that up. I think we've gone on for quite a while. Just to see what the time on the end of this is. But it's fun to talk about these things. We hope you guys will like it. Please, any suggestions you have for the format, for any of those sorts of things, then communicate with any of us. We will take what you have to say on board. And yeah, any last words to sign off?
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Hope to see more teams joining the BSG leagues. And also, don't hesitate to come to myself, GeneralSound, or any of the other moderators or managers about some coaching or some, assistance with managing a team, finding players. We're here to help everyone we can.
Yeah. 100%.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool.